Hi there, everyone. I'm Michelle.
I'm Jim, and we are
Fatigue of Your Own. Welcome to another Motivational Monday.
Let's get motivated.
Woo-hoo! It is a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and we have a beautiful friend on screen with us today. Everyone, I'd like you to welcome Robin Salls. She is the founder, the editor-in-chief, and the publisher of Tangled Silver Magazine. So welcome, Robin.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. What a nice introduction.
We are so glad.
I feel like that's a lot of titles. I'm like, wow, yeah, okay, wow.
Well, I do a lot, and you do a lot. You and I met each other through a good friend of ours, Katerina Rando, who has been on here a couple of times.
Yes,
now.
Yes, she has.
Jim loves Katerina. Anybody who's ever met Katerina loves Bing Bing Bing. She's just a lot of fun. But I was super excited to meet you because you work with a specific group of people. You work, and what you do is very inspiring. It's very empowering, and I wanted people to hear more about what you do and who you work with. So Robin, tell us a little bit about Tangled Silver Magazine.
Well, thank you. Well, so Tangled Silver Magazine actually started in 2021 when I was on my own silver hair journey for about 3 or 4 years at that point in time. Had been looking about going into it. There weren't visuals that made gray hair, silver hair, whatever you want to call it, look the word I use, rocking. There wasn't anything that really made it look stylish, right? There were no visuals. And after looking around and trying to find them, I realized there were a lot of women online on Instagram. Not a lot at that point. There are a ton now, thousands now. But back in 2018, 2019, there were a few that were just really dynamic. But there was nowhere to spotlight them. And so I was like, okay, well, we need a magazine for this. And I'm just going to jump in and do it. So it was really a passion project and one to help uplift other women. Because I thought if I'm feeling this way, there had to be other women that were feeling that way as well.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because I know when I was growing up, many of the women in my family, they would dye their hair just as long as possible. I think I've had aunts and cousins who literally went to their grave with dyed hair because they just did not want to have the silver and the gray and everything showing. Men don't seem to have this issue nearly as much.
For the most part, we don't care.
This seems to definitely be a woman issue when it comes to hair color. So why do you think that is, Robin?
Well, I think it starts off a lot of times with the stories we hear as children, right? You think about I love Disney movies, so don't anybody get that wrong. I love Disney movies, but when you think back about them as I'm older now, I'm going to be 57 here in August. I look back and realize Cinderella and her stepmother, Ursula and Ariel, Snow White and the Queen. It was like youth pit against age all the time. Yeah. So I think that even as young kids, we start getting that message. And then you kind of get into like your teenage and middle years and not midlife, but like early 20s, right? Where the commercials are going, anti-aging this, you got to stay young. Young is for the youthful, right? Life is for youthful. So I think all those messages, and for women, because the first thing you see on a woman typically is her hair and it's an outward expression. I think it really is taking its toll on women, especially with the commercials aimed specifically at women coloring their hair. I mean, there's a huge, $1 billion industry out there that has products for color your hair, right? So the last thing they want to do is encourage you to embrace it necessarily. And for me, I grew up kind of the opposite. My grandmother is my best childhood memories on Saturday mornings. We would be I would be brushing her beautiful white hair. She had just had the most gorgeous sparkling hair. I used to think that she was like my own little Glinda, from Wizard of the Oz. She just sparkled all the time. Yeah. So I had that to see. So I always knew at some point, my hope is that I will eventually get to my mother's beautiful white at some point. My grandmother's beautiful white. My mother has beautiful silver, which is very platinum. So, I've been very fortunate. But even my mother didn't want to go silver at first. She looked at me when I said I was going to let my gray come in. And she said, oh, honey, your mother's supposed to be gray before you, but I just can't do it. And I was like, well, that's okay. I'm not asking you to do it. I'm just telling you I am. So you leave me alone and quit bugging me about when you're going to go get those grays covered. So, yeah. I think that's fine.
I remember the old commercial. I think it was Clairol. I'm going to wash that gray right out of my hair. Yeah. And it's interesting, like you said, how different women, because there are some women out there, they go gray early.
Mm-hmm.
I've had friends, they were in their late 20s and they had a lot of gray, and they were just like, no, this is too soon. I'm not ready for this. And then I know other women, they're well into their 40s before the clumps are really starting to come out, and some into their early 50s. So it's a very individual thing, and how you react to it is very individualized.
Yeah, absolutely. My mother-in-law is 85 now, and she has less gray and silver in her hair than I have in mine naturally.
Wow.
So it really is a lot of in your DNA makeup and stuff beyond it. But
Yeah.
And I've met young girls as young as 13 that are going gray already because of their DNA. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, it shouldn't be something we're afraid of or that we associate just with age. I think that's the problem. It gets associated in a negative light with age, and that's unfortunate because it shouldn't be associated in those terms.
Yeah, I think people are starting to call them. It's no longer gray hairs. It's you're either. I like to look at it as my glitter highlights or my. Some people call them wisdom highlights that are in there. And like I said, with men, it's very different. Men, they start to go gray, especially at their temples, and it's just like, oh, he's wise and experienced, and look at him.
Distinguished, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, no, the bigger issue for men generally isn't gray. It's
lack of hair.
Lack of hair.
Yeah.
But I think we've seen a bit of a shift over the last couple of decades, where that was one of the things I was happy about, is when I got to this point that it seemed to come in style.
Yeah.
And so now there's plenty of men walking around and they proudly show off their bald
heads.
They're
purposely going bald. Yeah.
Some of them do it. Yeah. Some of the younger men, they just shave it off.
Shave their hair off.
So it is coming into style, into fashion.
Yeah.
And for me, I fully embraced it once I got there. Didn't like it. The transition getting there was terrible. But once I got there, it's like, this is easy. This saves me so much time in my life. But,
I think go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and I think I've seen with women that the gray and silver has also become more fashionable.
Yeah.
I see younger women who are purposefully going for a gray look.
Yeah.
And personally, I think it looks good.
Yeah. Well, that was my key thing in 2019, 2018 is when I actually quit dyeing altogether. But I was looking around, all these young girls my daughter's age were paying tons of money to get silver. And here I was paying tons of money to cover mine. And it was like, wait a minute, people.
Yeah.
But you said the key word, the transition. I think it's, transition, regardless of what it is in life, your transition, rather it's a new job, a new home, a new hairstyle, new whatever. Transition can be hard. I mean, and it's a matter of how you're going to interpret it for yourself. And I think I always say that's a key thing, especially with embracing aging and beauty right now, is defining it for ourselves versus what is spoon-fed through the messages we've gotten or through commercials and advertising and media. It's really owning your own definition of it and running with that.
Yeah, I think for years, it seems like for decades now, a lot of emphasis has been put on teenagers and preteens as far as educating them on what beauty is and helping to increase their self-confidence and helping to increase their self-esteem. And I haven't seen as much emphasis at the other end of the spectrum. I haven't seen as much emphasis on women as they grow older and they have more experience and more wisdom and they have a lot fuller life. I don't see the emphasis on increasing their self-esteem and their ability to feel good in what's happening with their hair and what's happening with their face and what's the sagging here and there, and they're finding out that gravity works and stuff like that. I don't see as much education happening at that end of the spectrum, and that's one of the reasons why I love what you do with Tangled Silver magazine, is because you're lifting up these women who in the past there wasn't a spotlight put on them. In the past, there wasn't a whole lot of emphasis put on what they're going through. And so can you talk a little bit more about what all you include, some of the information and some of the types of articles and stuff you have in Tangled Silver magazine?
Yeah, gosh, no, we initially started off as more focused on solely hair, right? The transition is silver hair at first. And while still we really focus on using models that show that silver is a beauty option, we've expanded to where our articles are everything that really has to do with midlife, 45 plus. Like there are articles about menopause, there are articles on health and care, there are articles on obviously hair care. I mean, it's such a diverse range. And it's really bringing you stories of women. Like what I love to share are the women who are standing boldly, especially when they've embraced their natural hair shade and are changing what they're doing at this age. So like the stigma of us sitting in rocking chairs or that life is kind of slowing down for us is really not true. Most of the women I meet now are like jumping into these new chapters, and they're actually more vibrant and more alive than they felt years before because they don't have all the other stuff. Like we're not raising children anymore, right? So we get to be us again, or we get to follow through some passions that maybe we put on the back burner for raising families or whatever. So it seems like, we address everything. So there's stories about pretty much anything that has to do with midlife women's. If somebody has a story idea and they want to send it over to me, we love anything that kind of really propels it. My gosh, let's redefine aging, because it's not what we grew up, or at least myself grew up hearing what it was going to look like. I mean, it was literally like you hit 50 and then it's everything downhill from there. It's like, oh my gosh, no. I mean, it's like oh no, it's just totally like expanding right now for me. And I love being where I'm at. And that's a lot for me to say, because I was that girl that wanted to always please everybody and had to have everybody's approval. And if somebody didn't like me, it would drive me batty. And I'd be like, well, why don't they like me? What am I doing wrong? And would make that an internal thing, versus now it's like somebody will say, I've had a few people say comments to me about my hair. And I'm just like, or it makes me look older. I'm like, doesn't hurt you, does it? Like, I mean, I'm at the point now where like what I'm doing, if it doesn't hurt you, then I don't need your approval on it, right? If I'm happy being what I'm at, it's an amazing feeling to get this point. And I don't know that we've taught enough women growing up that that's okay to feel that way. It's not selfish to feel happy and true with who you are today. So,
yeah, this past weekend I was at the Business and Professional Women of Pennsylvania annual convention. They held it in Harrisburg this year. And got to see a whole bunch of women from all over Pennsylvania and all different age ranges. So we had some in their 20s all the way up into their 90s, these women who were there at this convention. And I was sitting at dinner on Saturday evening talking to a couple of women who were, say, in their 40s and 50s. And they said how empowering it was and how freeing it was when they reached the point in life, excuse me, where they figured out they really didn't care anymore what other people, they didn't need somebody else's permission. It didn't matter to them how somebody else felt about who they were, what they were doing, what they looked like. They were just like, I don't care. I'm going to be me, and I'm going to do me, and this is who I am, and I don't need your permission to do that. And just how freeing it was to get to that point.
Amen to that. I think that the younger generation, I hope that we're now setting the precedents for them, that they don't feel like they have to be bottled up until they're so much older before they can let go. But I also think that those of them who are younger that have already taken that attitude that they just don't care have really helped the rest of us that kind of were stuck like, oh, we're supposed to follow this routine, right? This is what it's supposed to be like. And they've helped us kind of break out of it as well. Like, I mean, when I said that I was doing my hair, and I asked my daughter, I mean, it's 2018, she's getting married in 2019. And I actually asked my daughter if it would be okay to let my silvers come in, or if she would prefer I wait till after her wedding for wedding photos, because, it's a big deal to be getting married. And so I thought, well, and my daughter was like, Mom, Girls my age are paying for it. Go for it. Go for it. It was like, and my husband turned around and went, I've been telling you, you can do that for years. And it took your daughter giving you the approval. And I was like, well, yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah. You know, she's a woman. Yes, it took her, but like, we are kind of breaking free from that. And it's so nice. I mean, it's nice to get up in the morning and not necessarily care what somebody else is going to think about your outfit for the day, because if you love it and you rock it, that's all that matters. And you walk out the door with that air of confidence that I think so many more women in midlife are starting to own, that confidence truly in themselves.
Yeah, and I'm seeing a shift in that. I'm seeing, I belong to a lot of different women's groups, and you're seeing that shift happen earlier and earlier. You're seeing that shift happen in women in their 40s and in their 30s. And I don't know, because Jim was a college professor for
25 years.
almost
Yeah.
25 years.
Almost
Yeah.
25 years.
And with the last batch of kids that you had, did you see a change in the confidence level for the girls who were in your classes?
I don't know. I wasn't really looking for it, so I can't really say. You know, for the brighter ones, yeah. I mean, I had a few. You know, I had some favorites who they were very confident, and they were the ones that when I had, you know, different projects to work on, I knew these are the ladies that I go to, because they would take up the challenge. But in general, I don't know. I never really.
Could you see a difference between some of the guys and some of the ladies that you had in there as far as the confidence levels?
Yes. Male confidence levels have dropped.
Interesting.
Yes. Well, that's because society is throwing a lot of odd messages at men these days. It's very conflicting messages. And I think it's been the case for women for a long time.
Yeah.
So women are maybe a little more used to it. For men, it's a different deal, where all of a sudden they're being told, well, that's a discussion for another day. But yeah, they're getting these messages that are just all over the place. And I think there's just a lot of confusion amongst young men. Now you have some that they are, you know, they're right there and they know exactly what they're doing, but there's so many others that are just really confused.
Well, I think part of what's going on with men right now is what happened with women back in the 60s and 70s. With women back in the 60s and 70s, they were told, you know, you want to work, you want to have a family, you want to do it all, go do it all. They were pushed into doing that, and as a result, you had a lot of turmoil in society, but you also had a lot of turmoil with women as a whole into what they could and what they should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing. It's just like, no.
Right.
And so we've come out, it's taken several decades, but we're at the point now where it's just like, oh, I want to do this. That's what I'm going to do. And I think men eventually will get to that point.
Yeah. But like I said, they're having a lot of messages thrown at them these days that are very, very different than the messages that were thrown at their fathers and grandfathers.
Yes. I think that happens in every generation, right? I mean, even like women and men, it's the same thing. I mean, we've gotten all this, what's the word I'm looking for? Misconstrued information that is shared by all the, and now it's even worse because we have all these different outlets, like social media is great for us as a business, right? It's great for us as a business, but it does give an awful lot of opportunity to get all these misconstrued messages, and you don't know what to listen to, who to listen to, what's right, what's propaganda, what's real. I mean, it's a lot to take in for the young people, and the younger people are so in tune with being on their tablets and their phones more so than we all were. That it's no wonder why it's coming to that. I mean, I will say yay for the women that are now finally, like, we're finally past that thing where we're really trying to grasp where we want to be today. But I do feel for the men, because again, we grew up with that, where there were things we were supposed to do or expected to do. And we just kind of fell into line with what those were supposed to be. Like, I often wonder, I colored my hair for 25 plus years. Did I color it really because I wanted to? Or was I coloring it because that little voice in my head from my stepfather that told me if I didn't, I was going to look older than my mother? I still wonder how, I mean, because I think I loved coloring my color, but I was always very blonde. And I look back and think those things were really great. But now I look back at some of those, so I'm like, oh, and I really thought that looked really good. Like, I mean, it makes you kind of wonder about that.
I get it. Awesome. And you're right. I think social media, when you've got so many different platforms out there that are pushing different narratives, it's hard for men and for women to figure out, what do I really believe? What do I really want for myself?
Right.
And so it's great that you can get the information out there, that it's easily accessible. It's overload though. And I think for some people it's just too much and they get overwhelmed.
Yes, it's a
So
love-hate relationship.
it is. It truly is. So you have so many resources available, and you've got the Tangled Silver magazine that you provide is an excellent resource for women out there, like you said, 45 and over who might have questions, might need some information about, like you said, healthcare, or about caring for their hair. If somebody wanted to get in contact with you, what is the best way for them to do that, Robin?
So if they're interested in checking out the magazine, they can go directly to the website, tangledsilvermagazine.com. There's an area on there you can sign up and get a free issue just to kind of check the right tribe for you. If you want to reach out to me, there are several places on the website that you can actually click on. It takes you directly to my inbox, basically. So there's a place that'll say chat with Robin that lets you schedule like a 20-minute chat with me. So if you want to talk about grain, age, and however that those sort of things, and get a conversation started, or you can email me directly there. Email is robin@tangledsilvermag.com, so shorten the magazine. But that'll get you directly to my email box. And I'm pretty much on most of the social channels, except for I have an account on TikTok, but I don't really use it. So if you're reaching out to me on TikTok, you're not going to get replies very soon. If you go to EG, Instagram, or Facebook, it's a better place to reach me, or the website.
Excellent. And if somebody has a suggestion for you for the magazine, or I know there are lots of people out there who write, and if they have an article or something like that, are you open to receiving that type?
Yes, because the magazine is supposed to be about all of the different viewpoints from all the women, because all of our stories are different and each one is super special. So again, they can go onto the site, click email me just in the title, in the little subject line, put what it's for, interested in writing or an article share. I mean, I'm always looking for new, as I call them, my sheephack contributors that want to help encourage and inspire other women.
Excellent. Yeah, I get it. You always want content. You always want what other people are interested in too. So that's, and when it comes to your readers, that's one of the best people to go to when it comes to providing more information and stuff. So great. All right. It's been wonderful having you on here, Robin. We're glad that you could make it on here. And I love when we have guests on here, because it gives us an opportunity to talk about something completely different from what we do.
And that is nice.
Yeah. So if anybody out there watching is interested in being a guest on here, because like I said, when Robin and I first connected, I was just like, I need to have you on our live, because I think your message needs to get out there to more people. If you think that your message needs to get out to more people, feel free to reach out to us. And how could they reach out to us?
Oh, there's a multitude of ways. You can call us.
Yep.
There's our phone number, 412-420-7975.
Yep.
If you don't like talking on the phone, send us a text message. We'll be happy to text you back.
Yep.
You can also send us an email, info@ateagueofyourown.com.
Yep.
You can go to our website, simply ateagueofyourown.com. We also are on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and we have a YouTube channel. Please go there and subscribe and like us and all of the websites, and we'd love for you to do that for us.
All right. So feel free to reach out to us. Let us know what you're interested in hearing. And if you're interested in being a guest on here, we'd be more than happy to have you. Thank you again, Robin. We're glad that you could be here. And we will see everybody again next week. Bye.
Bye.